Okay. I need to call to order the Park Board, Raymore Park Board meeting for Tuesday, June 28, 2016. I need a roll call.
Member Castleman?
Present.
Member Sepola?
Present.
Member Eastwood?
Present.
Member Harris?
Present.
Member Heath?
Present.
Member Howdyshaw?
Present.
Member Siemers?
Present.
Member Troutman?
Present.
Chairman Manson?
Present. And we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. I don't believe we have any personal appearances to this evening. So we'll move on to acceptance of minutes for the May 24th, 2016 meeting. Is there a motion?
I move to accept the minutes from the May 24th, 2016 meeting. Second.
All right, motion's been made to accept the minutes for the May 24th, 2016 meeting, and second. Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor? All right, it's unanimous. There were no committee reports. Finance, Recreation, and Grounds Committee did not meet. We're on to staff reports. Recreation Superintendent, Mr. McLean.
Thank you, sir. I would like to just hit on a couple of highlights that I have listed on the report that I've submitted in the packet. Those highlights are that we had a very full month of tournaments every weekend at Recreation Park. There were tournaments going on in this last weekend. If anybody was able to swing by, we had the third annual Heart of America Senior Softball Tournament that we hosted out there. So they had 55 years of age all the way up to 75 years and older divisions playing out there. So it was quite a tournament. Those gentlemen really liked the facility and the changes that they have seen over the past few years as they've been here. So they gave us a thanks, and we thank them for continuing to bring back that tournament. So that was one thing I wanted to definitely highlight. Of course, this week with summer camp, the kids are going to Worlds of Fun on Thursday, so that's always a big event. So summer camp is really trucking along, and we're anticipating some growth after this week once summer school is completed. And then finally, of course, staff has been making a lot of preparations for Monday, the 4th of July event. So that's what we've been working on, along with wrapping up some of our spring seasons. So I'll be glad to entertain any questions at this time.
Any questions? Jenny?
I was wondering on the Lego camp that you had on June 13th that week, is there an opportunity that they're going to be coming again later on in the summer? Because that was during the month of summer school, and I didn't know.
No, we had to book that well in advance. That was something that was booked, I believe, back in March. So we offered it the one time. This was a first time of offering it. It was well attended, so that was good. And we are looking at what we will do for next summer, and we plan and intend on offering again next summer.
Maybe an additional time that's outside of summer school so the kids in summer school can do it too.
We'll look at that. We'll see if we can't lock in a date for that. Not a problem.
Any others? Yes, Brian.
Thank you, Chairman Manson. Mr. McLean, I see that camps average 35 to 50 kids for the first 4 weeks of camp with summer school out. Do we expect that to increase? Do we know? Do we have
Yes.
some kind of...
We expect that to increase. On the average, over the past few years, once summer school ends, we are closer to a 75 to 85 participation number. So we are expecting it. There's always that week around 4th of July that is tough because of family vacations. Those that were in school have left, so there we still have the 30 to 50 for the first week or so, week to 2 weeks of July, and then that's when we see the increase.
I got another question, only because kids never participated in it. When you sign up for that, do you sign up for the whole week? Can you just come one day? Do you come 3 days?
We have
How's that
two
work?
different options. We have a full week, and then we have a partial, and the partial covers up to 3 days. So 1 to 3 days or 4 to 5.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Anyone else? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, Park Superintendent, Mr. Rulo.
Thank you. I did submit a written report in the packet, but wanted to also let you all know that I actually got in contact with Bob Maddox from the MDC, who is working on our grant for our Hawk Ridge projects. Things are starting to progress. He heard back from Jeff City, hoping something will be back next week or the following week written, so we can get rolling on all these things. And also, like Mr. McLean had said, park staff has been preparing Recreation Park for Monday night's event, mulching trees, trying to clean up flower beds, making the front entrance, mowing down all the cattails in the ditches and everything. It looks really nice, and thanks to the Public Works Department who helped us out with that. So, other than that, I would be more than happy to entertain any questions.
Any question? All right, thank you, sir. Park Director, Mr. Mustine.
Thank you, sir. Just a quick update of last night's council meeting. The second read of our athletic coordinator position was passed unanimously, so myself and Mr. McLean will get with the HR department this week on job postings and get that posted. Our target date is this Thursday to have a couple weeks for open applications and then begin the process of sifting through those applicants and interviews. So congratulations on increasing our staff, and we hope to only continue to grow and do great things with this addition. Secondly, within the city council on June 13th, the mayor read a proclamation and we passed a resolution of being a mayor's Monarch Pledge community, in which we would designated certain areas of the park and a few things, criteria of plantings and things to promote the monarch butterfly. One of our tree board members, Paula Diaz, was there to accept it and is really the champion of that. Why I bring that up is that we received a grant to install 5 of these monarch way stations throughout the park system, and within my staff report, you see 2 of our signs that had the guys install, which look very good. So there's another little tip on my staff report. But many of those plants that we received in the grant are planted around those signs, and the rest are at the depot at Hannah Station to build that up. And that meets several of our requirements for the mayor's pledge. So just a highlight of what those are doing. We do have some signage already in-house that we'll install once we get the rest of the plantings done, and that way it'll kind of be an educational component of that. And as far as the work session, we had a work session on June 14th. In lieu of our committee reports, the work session notes are in the back of the packet for those, just for your information, and be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? All right, thank you, sir. All right, there's no old business. On to new business. Item A, this is a budget recommendation and action item. This is in regards, Mr. Mustine.
Thank you, sir. This is actually the item we discussed at the work session on June 14th, our annual review of the operations budget. Just a quick highlight of the report that the board and staff reviewed the operations budget item by item. Staff presented a zero balance budget with the caveat that projections for insurance cost and things of that nature would come to play. So we gave you the best case scenario of a balanced budget, or the best presentation that we could, with no changes on the board's part. So before you tonight is the budget as presented with a recommendation from you. We will present this to the city manager later on this month, and we do ask that you give leeway for him to make those necessary changes based on the insurance and the projections that weren't available at the time.
All right, Brian.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move we accept the proposal. I move we accept the budget for FY17, operations budget as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Motion has been made regarding the proposed fiscal year budget for 2017 as presented, and seconded. Any discussion? All right, no discussion. All those in favor? Unanimous. It's passed. Item B, this is going to be the 2016 Recreation Park Shade Structure. Mr. Musting.
Thank you, sir. This is the one of our capital improvement projects that we also discussed at a work session. The board has seen. We've just a quick overview. We went out to bid for these. We received 4 proposals. The board has reviewed those, and at this time, I'll allow our park superintendent Rouleau to review the bids and go over those items with you folks.
Thank you. In October of 2015, the City Council designated $194,000 towards the purchase and installation of shade structures at each of the 6 fields at the Recreation Park Baseball Complex. This project would provide shade for the bleachers and would become the wow factor of virtually a new baseball complex. Staff requested a base proposal that enhanced the aesthetics of the complex and provided shade and foul ball safety. In addition to the base proposal, contractors were encouraged to submit an alternate bid of additional designs and features that would add to the overall projects. The alternate bids were not required and were not part of the lowest best criteria for bid selection. Shade Systems by Out and About LLC was the low bidder, and during the work session on June 14th, the Park Board did select Shade Systems by Out and About LLC as the lowest best bidder. Shade Systems by Out and About LLC was the only bidder that submitted an alternate bid that included a shade structure that wraps around the baseball concession stand. Staff requests a motion to accept and recommend the lowest and best bid submitted from Shade Systems by Out and About for spectator shade structures on the Recreation Park baseball fields in the amount of $111,223.
All right, thank you. All right, I'll entertain a motion at this time for regarding this, accepting the lowest and best bid submitted from Shade Systems by Out and About for $111,223. Brian.
Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the bid from Out and About for $111,223.
I second the bid.
All right, motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Any discussion?
Oh, I got one thing to say.
Yes, Brian.
So, as many of you may have picked up in the work session, I do umpire out here. So, the last couple of weeks since we talked about this, I've been talking to some people about these shade structures coming out. Because when we first show up, man, it is hot. And told them where they're going to go and where they're at. And everybody I've talked to, granted it was 100 degrees out there, has been absolutely thrilled to just hear they're coming. I don't think they have any idea on how nice they're actually going to be when they come out there. So, I think, you called it the wow factor out there, and it'll certainly be a unique structure, but it's also going to be functional, I think. So yeah, I think this will be a good bid for us. This will be a good project to take on.
All right. Any further discussion? All right. Motion is forwarded. At this time, I'll ask for a vote. All those in favor of this motion? All right, it's unanimous. Item C.
Hang on.
Oh,
I
sorry.
also have a second motion as part of this project. Staff requests a motion to accept and recommend that the project include the alternate bid in the amount of $87,594 for the concession stand shade structures.
All right, do I have a motion to accept this amendment for the additional? Brian?
I move to accept the alternate bid from Shade Systems by Out and About for $87,594.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, it's been seconded. Motion's been made and seconded for the acceptance of the alternate bid. All those in favor? All right, passes unanimous. All right, item C. Mr. Mustang.
Thank you, sir. So item C is a budget amendment that follows up what we just approved, and ultimately, I will take this to City Council for their approval and move forward. This budget amendment, what it does is it allows $15,000 from our capital improvement fund to cover the additional expense that was above our budgeted amount for the total of the project. So it basically $4,818. And it also includes a 5% contingency in the event that any change orders might be needed. So this budget amendment would follow the staff report for council as well and provide us any additional funds needed. Obviously, our job is to try not to need that contingency, but we'll do our best on that.
All right. This time I'll entertain a motion to request a budget amendment in the amount of $15,000 fiscal year 16, capital fund 47. That includes $4,817 to cover the alternate bid. Brian?
Can I ask some questions first? Because I'm not going to give you a motion yet.
All right.
You're asking for 5% for project continue. Well, let me ask you this. This is coming out of Fund 47's reserve balance, right?
Yes, sir.
And I don't have the number in front of me unless it's in those back pages and the text is too small to read. What do we have in that reserve?
I believe scheduled for this year, it's upward of $70,000
70?
in the fund balance at this time.
And I've typically heard you want 10% contingency.
I talked with the finance director on that, and given the state of this type of project, there's very little room for major concerns. I mean, it's a pretty standard, straight-up project. So she felt comfortable only doing a 5%.
Okay, well, let me ask you this question. What funds don't get spent for this go back into Fund 47?
Yes, sir.
Will that require a budget amendment to bring it back in? Because we're pulling it out, right?
No, it'll set.
just-
It's to use if needed, if that's accurate.
I mean, I guess my
I'm
question
gonna
is,
let
we're
the
making a
man-
budget amendment to pull it
Yeah.
out of Fund
We're
47.
gonna let the
fund
man
something.
who's in charge of that
Okay.
discuss this for you.
Please state your name for the record.
Good evening. Thanks for letting me talk for just a second. Like any project, the terminology pull it out of is what you're going to be doing is you're going to be reallocating available fund balance to an expense line item. Like any expense line item, what doesn't get expended out of that line item becomes part of fund balance at the end of the year. So as an example, as Mr. Mustine indicated, a project like this where you have a dedicated product to a dedicated space, you're probably not going to need the contingency. So the $4,000,
10,000.
the $4,800 that you're actually going to need to get to that point, the additional amount is a safety amount in case you need the cushion. If you don't spend that additional money, it just contributes down into fund balance at the end of the year.
Okay, if something happens and we do need more than 10, is it another?
It would require Mr. Mustine to come back to you all with an additional budget amendment.
Okay, so is there any harm in making it 25,000? Anything?
I would suggest against it. It since we don't want to make the contractors nervous. We'll just put it that way.
Really?
It becomes public record how much you've placed in there. So we like to keep it to a set engineering recommended amount each time, because when the council gets this, they're going to see, and it will become a matter of public record, that this amount, 15,000, has been placed into the fund.
It's available.
It's
They're
available.
gonna do
to be
whatever and
spent.
say, oh, by the way, we need
Exactly
this.
right.
So let's
Contingent-
not give the extra
Contingent on budget
contingency.
amendments have to be approved by the city manager.
They do.
Yes.
Okay.
Budget amendments to the project that you all have approved. In other words, there'll be an
Oh, even though
additional.
we're allocating the funds to be there, you still have to say, yeah, let's do it.
Yep.
They can't just say, oh, we messed up, and you're like, we'll just start taking. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
thank you. Mr. Chairman, I move we make the budget amendment of $15,000 out of the reserve fund for 47 into this project.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Motion is made and seconded. All those in favor? All right, it's passed unanimous. Thank you, Brian. All right. Next, we have board elections. Since this is the one-year term for chair and vice chair annually in June, we have elections for the next year to follow. Right now, I'll call for nominees for board chair. Anyone going to nominate anybody? Yes, sir.
I'll nominate Brian for chair.
I'll nominate Mr. Manson again.
Anyone else? All right, then I'll close the nominations at this time. We have Mr. Harris and myself up for that position. What I would ask at this time is all those in favor of Mr. Harris, raise your right hand. All right, I have two. Did I miss anybody? No. All right, all those in favor of Mr. Manson? All right, 6. Okay. All right, at this time, that Mr. Manson myself has been reappointed back to chair. It's an awkward when you're addressing yourself that way. Right. Pardon me?
Bob Dole always spoke for himself.
All right. All right, next is, would be a call for nominees for vice chair. I'll accept any nominations at this time.
Mr. Chair, I nominate Brian Harris, Vice Chair.
Okay. Steve?
I'll nominate Melinda Howdy-Shell for vice chair.
All right, do we have any other nominations? All right, at this time, I'll close nominations. We have Ms. Haddishell and Mr. Harris for the position of vice chair. I'm going to ask for a vote for Mr. Harris. All those in favor of Mr. Harris, raise your right hand. Okay. All right. I missed a count on that. I got 2. All right. 6. Those in favor of Ms. Hudishell? 3. All right. Mr. Harris has been reelected back to vice chair. Congratulations. Now, public comment. Unfortunately, we don't have anybody in attendance this evening. I'm going to go for board chair comment at this time. Anyone wish to make any comments? Linda.
I had somebody I ran into randomly actually in Raytown that said they were at our fields over the weekend and how nice they were, but oh gosh, I wish there was some shade structure there that they couldn't. And I'm like, hey, I think we can help you out soon. So they were very excited also to get that moving forward. And so I just wanted to throw that out there that we are definitely moving in the right direction there.
All right. Michelle.
Everyone have a happy and safe 4th. And while you're drinking your beer or your Pepsi or Coke and shooting fireworks, remember why we have this holiday and thank your moms, dads, everyone that's involved in serving our country. Happy 4th.
Okay. Any others? All right, at this time, I'm going to close the open meeting and ask us to move to executive session. This is in regards to personal matters as authorized by Section 610.2021, subsection 3, regarding. I need a roll call vote on this.
Member Castleman,
Aye.
Member Sepulveda,
Here.
Member Eastwood,
Aye.
Member Harris,
Aye.
Member Heap,
Aye.
Member Haddishell,
Aye.
Member Siemers,
Aye.
Member Troutman,
Aye.
and Chairman Manson.
Aye.